Hello and welcome to Decorate It. My name is Mary and this is Wes, and tonight is episode 22 and we're talking about Paracord. So we actually talked about Paracord quite a few episodes ago when we were talking about just custom grips in general,
Right.
but we just didn't really quite elaborate on the stuff that you could do with Paracord.
On Paracord itself.
Yeah. Well, and also including like the butt wrap, the butt cord as well. So there's also different materials, but Paracord's one of the things that we've worked with.
Mm-hmm.
And
a little bit of butt cord.
Just a little bit. The diameter of the butt cord is a lot thinner than what I'm used to because we use 550 when we do ours usually.
And the Atwood rope
Mm-hmm.
essentially is like a quarter of the size of 550.
Yeah, it's tiny. But you can do a lot of stuff with it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, instead of just straight spiraling it up, you can do like actual patterns. Like chevrons are a pretty easy one to put into it. And it just takes a little bit of...
You can do chevrons.
Crap
you can do
and-
stars. You can do flags.
Yeah, you could treat it just like thread, like for a decorative wrap in that sense. For us, we've done quite a few. You've got like 3 or 4 in-house that are for you that you've decided to do Paracord style stuff on. We've sold quite a few. I think it's a super durable and easily replaceable kind of grip. A lot of customers on the West Coast will actually use that because it doesn't tear up like EVA or cork will.
Yeah, Paracord and the Atwood cord.
But if you've got a repair, a lot of times if a cork grip comes in busted or EVA grip comes in like just chewed up, dog got a hold of it, whatever, you destroyed it while you were fishing, it's easy to just wrap it and put like shrink tube over top of it as a replacement. It doesn't look as awesome as the original, but it's easily replaced. And it doesn't cost as much in labor and time and stuff because you don't have to remove a whole bunch of stuff to put a new grip on.
Right. If you're doing something basic.
Yeah. There's always the biggest question, do you gut it or do you not gut it?
Well, it depends on what I'm doing. So if I'm doing a design, I'm probably going to gut it because it'll lay flatter, it'll pull tighter, it'll look better.
Yeah.
If I am just spiraling it and putting something over it or leaving it exposed and being spiraled, then I'm just going to leave the core in it.
Yeah, because you want the kind of the cushion
Yeah.
effect as well. Like you said, most of those patterns that we were finding were coming off of Paracord Guild.
Yep. On
YouTube.
There's a Facebook group and YouTube channel dedicated to all the different patterns that can be done.
And we tried quite a few of them. Videos are pretty easy to follow. Just some of them are more complicated to do than others.
That one in particular
The star.
took me better part of a week to figure out how to do it on the rod.
Was it the star or the other one that's over there? I can't remember what
It
the pattern
was the blue and green one.
Yeah, I don't remember what pattern that
Or
was.
black and green.
We went to Paracord Guild and just looked through all the videos and then just sat down and just started trying to figure out how to do it, following step by step.
Right.
We've got our pictures in here tonight, so you'll see it. But one of the grips that I did, I went all out on this thing, and I wove the entire thing. It was
And
a
then
lot.
that one, it was like a 14 or 16 inch foregrip.
But instead of doing it on the blank, I actually found PVC that was about the same size as the blank, and I would get the pattern done on that, and I actually would travel with it. We were down at the pier fishing one time when I was working on that. And while I was waiting on the fish to, come bite, I was making the cord wrap, and everybody's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm making a grip." And we had a bunch of people sitting around watching me just weave this thing back in and out, and ended up having to gut the thing and start over because I misstepped and was doing a step backwards or something. But we got it done. The other question is, do you seal it or do you not seal it?
It depends.
I love how you always are like, it depends.
I personally am not going to seal it because it's going to get washed off and dried out every time I fish with it.
I don't like the feel of it when it's been sealed.
Yeah, it gets really stiff and really abrasive.
Is there any situation you would seal it?
Party boat.
That'd be about it.
Like if a bunch of random people are going to be using it, yeah.
Well, beating it up and stuff. Preferred installment. How do you like to do it? Do you like to have something underneath of it? Do you like to apply it with glue?
I'd prefer to have it with cork tape underneath of it because then it grabs onto it and kind of bites down and it doesn't move after you get it all cinched in.
Yeah, it like squishes into the actual cork tape and you don't lose, like even when you put if you put rod bond or something underneath of it, you're still going to get like a hard texture to it. It's going to lose some of that cushion in my opinion. I know there were a lot of people that would start with rod bond on like one side or super glue or something to get it started, and they'd wrap, and they wouldn't do it necessarily in the middle, but they're wrapping super tight so it's not like moving around, but they were doing it straight to the blank. Somebody in Southern told us about the cork tape a long time ago.
But even if you don't put something under it, it can still twist around. So even if it's just a thinnest layer of cork tape and it's not the big thick cushion stuff like we use, you're better to have something underneath it for it to grab onto versus just the blank. Even if it's been sanded on the blank, it's still going to twist.
Still going to twist around. What are the different kinds of paracord? Because there's a ton. And
there's 550, there's 325, there's the Atwood cord.
And like, is it just size difference between them?
Yep. So the 550 is the typical bigger. The 325 is about half the size, and the Atwood cord is about a quarter of the size of the 325.
Well, they've also got paracord that is the size of the Atwood too. Because we had that little thin green and lime, like turquoise and lime green one.
That's the 325.
Okay. Okay.
And it's still bigger than the Atwood cord. So.
What's the difference between the butt wrap cord, and
not having
paracord?
A core?
Is that the only difference?
Really, it's a little stronger material on the Atwood cord, as far as the outer material, because it can't be picked as easily.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So, like if a sharp object picks at the paracord, you'll see little fibers coming out. Whereas the Atwood cord, you won't really see that. It can get fuzzy, but you won't see the single strands coming.
It's also rough, to me. It's rougher on my hand whenever, but it'd be great for. And
now the Atwood cord, a lot of guys will put a coating on it, so it never has to worry about it.
Yeah, but at that point, you're probably building it up to where it's like completely level and not just a thin coat making.
And there are people, Derek Beamer. I don't know if he posted or not.
He did.
But he does it under glass, so he says.
It's in resin, so it becomes a grip that is.
You see the cord and never touch it.
Yeah, like you're just touching the resin on the top. I'm assuming it's epoxy. I mean, he calls it glass, but I don't really know.
We didn't get a chance to watch that.
We had to leave early that day, so unfortunately, I'm not sure exactly what it is. But that's pretty much like paracord in a nutshell. You can just wrap it straight up and put shrink tube over top of it. There's clear shrink tube as well if you want to look into, what was it, electrician shrink tube?
Yep.
It's not super clear. It has a kind of a haze to it, but you'll get the idea.
Make sure to wash it first, because it does have a powder inside of it.
It's kind of weird. It's kind of like latex gloves.
Yeah, very much so, like the powder inside of latex gloves.
Cork tape is our preferred to stick on it, because you can just wrap it up and then.
I like the thick cork tape.
I like
not the real thin. The stuff that's like actually 1/8 inch thick and squishy.
It helps to build up the diameter, and it also helps to cinch that stuff in. One of the guys tonight said that he wrapped his and then wet it so that he could pull it a little bit tighter, and then as it dried, it expanded. It's not moved.
Right.
So there's different ways to go about doing it. You just have to kind of play around with what you prefer. So let's take a look at what the Southern Rod Builders decided to show us tonight. We're going to start with Adam Clements.
That's the other thing. You can do Turk's heads with paracord, and it gives it a little more bulk and distinguished lines versus the Atwood cord.
Yes, and so I'm going to have to go off on a limb here and guess that he probably didn't core this because it's kind of fluffy, but I don't know for a fact.
That still has the core in it.
It's great for a transition. You can kind of cinch it down and kind of get it to taper on one side. One of the hardest things is not making the Turk's head, but tightening the dang thing, I think, is one of the hardest things, because if you over-tighten one section, now you've got a section that's shrunk down, and the other one is floofy, if you will. But just, it's nice to kind of just throw in there as a decorative thing.
Turk's heads are definitely a game of patience.
Patience.
And follow the route.
And practice.
Follow the route. Don't deviate from the route.
I'd sit down with that jig for mud hole with the directions and go into here and here. Next up is Brian Ward. So he was actually fixing this. This one had similar utility cord, basically. It was the brown and white for the original, and he couldn't find the brown, so he went with black and white just to kind of fix it. Doesn't have to be anything complicated. It can literally just be wrapped straight on there, and boom, you have an instant grip. This one is Chase. This is what I like.
It's another form of a Turk's head.
It's just an elongated one. What I like to do for paracord grips is like a pattern like that. So it's actually woven around the thing just to give it a little bit more character. But totally see the usage and the place to just do a single wrap up the thing too.
And that's one of the cases where, like, if you've got a grip that's chewed up, you can get it all down flat and then put that over top of it. to build it back up.
Here's Derek. I'm going to guess it's
either the Atwood rope or 325, yeah.
And he's actually done a really cool thing where he's put it in between cork. So he created a cavity, wrapped it, and then sealed over it. So that's another option, too. He's done it in both places here. Matched it up nice with that American Tackle roll seat. That looks really slick, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Another one of Derek's. By far, probably one of my most favorite rods I've seen him build. Another situation where he sunk it into, looks like burl, wrapped it, coated over it. And you're never going to have to worry about the integrity of that. It's completely sealed.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a few of this rod. I love the splatters all over this thing. Don did an awesome job painting it. Another one of Derek's. Once again, just the paracord wrapped around and then sealed. That's the fun thing, too. Like, when you do a straight wrap with paracord, you get all that fun little, like, the pattern changes because of the taper.
The patterned cord.
Mm-hmm. This is Freddie Magana's. So this is 30 inches that he's wrapped for the West Coast deckhand style.
That's the Atwood rope, too.
Yeah, and this is the deckhand style, so that's the reason that it is that long. That's what the Atwood rope looks like. He's weaved it, but you could do chevrons and diamonds and all kinds of stuff with that rope and make it a little bit different and unique. Another one of Freddie's. I just love the colors in this one. Between the purple and the turquoise, on point.
Looks good.
Mm-hmm. And another situation that's just an elongated Turk's knot. And Jim. I like to look at what Jim does because he's got the paracord down there in the bottom left, but he's got epoxy and thread coming up over it to seal it in. And it always looks so clean. Another one of his. That one's a cool
Joker rod.
They have so many different patterns and colors. And I think Paracord Planet came out with one that's got hearts on it now. Another cool one by Jim.
That's combining two different ones, too.
So that's the other thing, too. You don't have to stick to just one size. You can do a bigger one and a smaller one and create this kind of cool little effect. And it's really cool to watch it kind of spiral and change and go back and forth. And then he's gone back over it with a Turk's knot at the end. And that looks like Atwood. Another one of Jim's. Once again, doing thread work over it and sealing off those edges. Looking really nice. There's a lot to look at in John Timberlake's photo here. So we're going to start with this first one. The blue and white basket weave. You can do all kinds of different patterns with the basket weave. You can do two over, two under. You can switch it up to do two side by side. Options are limitless. It's just whatever you want to do design-wise.
Yeah, because even, like, if you look to the left, the
green one?
The green is the same as the blue.
The
orange is a single going up the rod with 3 under.
Yep.
And the purple is 3 and 3.
So that's a great example of the basket we've done a bunch of different ways with different colors and stuff. And that was probably... Yeah, that's a basket weave. You just can hardly tell because of the...
And you don't have to do it this way either. You can do a single going right next to each other with singles underneath.
Yeah.
And get little tighter basket weaves.
Yeah, looking like the true basket weave, like the wood pattern. And then that's the rear grips to match. That purple one stands out really nicely.
And depending on how you do it, you can make it feel square. And it looks square instead of round.
A lot of really cool examples right there in that photo. He said he really enjoys using it because it's super durable, easy to clean. Here's some of ours. So I put both of our names on these because Wes did 2 of the handles, I did the other 2. But these are some rods that we sent out to California. And yeah, that foregrip was intense. So Wes did the red and the green one with the basket weave. One of them's a basket weave, one of them's a spiraling kind of basket weave, I think. And I did a knot one, which we'll see more of the photos and stuff, with that very extremely long foregrip, which is just I don't even remember what the pattern was. Closer look at them. So that's the front side of the rods. That red one ended up being really cool because of how the colors changed. So this is the one that Wes did. These are terrible photos that I took a long time ago.
Before we had quality cameras.
Long time ago. So we chose to do the Turk's knots to kind of trim up the edges of the real seat and everything. We tightened down one side. Didn't leave it fluffy. We kind of tried to taper it a little bit. Personal choice and style. This was the one I did. I really enjoyed that kind of like knot that happened on the back end, a little S kind of shape, because it gave your hand a place to kind of go straight to and hold on, if you will. I don't know, like a seam in your palm. Like it felt natural for it to fall there. This is the other one I did. This is the one that I took to the beach and was working on because of how long it was. It was intense to do this one. And I really honestly don't ever want to do one that long again. Because this was like the second or third time I had to try it to get it done. So it was rough, but cool. It ended up looking really cool. The worst part about it was keeping all those zigzags straight all the way up as you tightened it down. Ugh. One of Wes's basket weaves. How do you set yours up?
What do you mean?
Like, how do you figure out where you're supposed to be running that line straight up the blank?
So I take and tape down, if you're looking at the picture going left to right, I tape down all the blues on the left and space them out to where I need them.
You use like a circle template to like mark your axis, or you just measure?
I do the old school piece of tape, split it into 4s or 5s or 6s, however many, and then lay it down, start wrapping just like you would thread, and then every so often pull it up, put it down, just like weaving.
One of yours. Funny story behind this one. Wes learned how to do this because his back was messed up and he was on the couch for 2 weeks.
It was a week. Thank you. So that one is a star pattern from Paracord Guild that I literally sat there watching the YouTube video on the TV with my back out of commission to the point I couldn't walk, so I was sleeping on the couch. And step by step did that on a basically walking stick.
It's a wooden dowel.
Yeah.
But that's as much as he did of it. The reason why you see the rubber bands is because the pattern's still loose. Because he was going to go back and finish it, but then he got so sick of being down that he just was like, I'm done with it. But we haven't destroyed it because it's a cool little example of what you can do for the more...
In one way you look at it, it could be stars. The other way, it's the Mitsubishi logo.
Yeah. I guess you could see that. That would be really cool on like an American flag theme or American themed rod. You know,
blue
stars and stripes.
Instead of the black.
Blue instead of the black, and maybe like the red and white, or blue for the stars and red and white for the background. One of the two. Another one that Wes did. This is what we were referencing earlier. So can't remember what this pattern is, and it looks very confusing because
the pattern itself looks like an asterisk.
Yeah.
But it's very confusing because
you have the color, like the two different colors.
It's a solid black with a green, black, blue, yellow cord.
And the image is distorted because of that change, but this is one that you gutted, right?
Yeah, that one's gutted. You can always tell by the dimples in the black because it'll sink in.
It's just an interesting pattern. Another one of Wes's. So explain why this is such a long...
So that one is designed on a Thrasher 9-foot one-piece and wanted the capability of moving the reel seat. Problem is, I've built it as a spinning rod because I want to use it on the pier for throwing jigs. I've yet to find my spinning reel seat that will relocate like I want it to. So now that I have a 3D printer, I'll probably be printing it. But
that's why it's been sitting over there.
That's why it's never been completed, because I haven't found the seat I want for it. Because I don't want... So they make seats that will move around and things, but they have all these attachments or knobs or big bulky... I want it to almost be like the slip rings for an ice rod.
Use the ice rod kind of thing.
They don't make them big enough for that. So I'm probably going to have to print them.
So what did you do? You spiraled a thread?
So it's a basket weave with paracord, and it's literally every other, so single everything, and then a piece of Atwood gray wrapped in the middle of it.
So was the gray wrapped first and then everything done over it, or were you doing the gray as you were doing basket weave?
If you zoom in, you can see the gray going over the blue, so it's done while it's going.
Oh, yeah, you spent some time on that one.
Yeah.
I remember doing the wrap on it, but I wasn't paying attention to what you were doing with the actual...
And if you notice in the middle, zoom in on the left.
You've got a line I saw,
yep.
And I was trying to figure out what happened. Did you run out of thread, or...
Nope, that's to mark the middle to where the reel seat's supposed to sit normally.
Yeah, where it kind of does that little...
I did that on purpose so I could see the spot where I always want it, majority of the time.
Very cool. How long is that rear, do you know? Well, it looks hella long in the picture.
18, 19 inches, maybe. No, I'm sorry. That whole thing is probably 24 or 25.
Nice. Another one of your grips. So obviously I did all the thread work and stuff. This, just
No, I did that wrap.
Side note. This, even though it's a crappy photo, one of my all-time favorite wraps I've ever done, called the Impossible Star. I was actually super upset that I let this one go out the door to a customer. I love the colors that happened in it. It just, it's been one of those heartaches. Anyways, back to Wes. So this was, it's a basket weave, but it spirals, yeah?
Yeah, so you just, instead of doing the same spot, you just come back one or forward one every time you do it.
That one ended up looking really cool. Will Easter, so this is a great example, straight wrapping up the blank.
And when you finish the rods, you can do it just like you do thread wraps and do a pull through and pull it under. But if you leave the core in it for the wrap, make sure to slide the end back, cut that core out of it for what's going under it.
Yeah, because it's not going to lay flat.
Well, that, and I've literally burned my hand trying to pull it. With the core inside of it, because it doesn't give easily to slide under all that other stuff.
Especially when you're wrapping it at the tension you should be. So this is another example of wheels. The green one we just saw with a purple, dark blue, purple. And you can see that he uses these because the purple's got a little bit of stuff on it. And I believe the purple here.
But the other thing you can do also, I just thought about it, you can order the seat big enough based on where the blank is to go and slide it over the cord. Like, obviously you don't want to do 5 wraps of cord under it, but just 1 or 2, and then if you ever have to repair it, you can pull it back out.
Yeah, that'd be neat. So that is all the examples we got tonight, and it's a great variety of examples, you know, between doing pattern things, actually weaving, the basket weave, which is the traditional kind of way to use it, spiraling it, easy breezy, and, you know, we both talked about our preferred. Now, I know there's some people that were spraying it. What was it?
You can do a spray lacquer on it.
Yeah, like a lacquer to try to keep it cleaner, you know, when you're rinsing off fish guts and stuff. I think we had a polyacrylic, didn't we? It's Minwax polyacrylic. It's literally just, you can spray it on there. Now, obviously, it's going to change the texture of it.
Or, if you're really worried about it, Thompson's water seal.
So my table we sit at is actually my glue-up table. So I have all my spray paints and glues and all that stuff underneath here, and then the other side is like cork and EVA and stuff. So.
There's also a glow clear that you can do.
Oh, that'd be fun for like nighttime.
We used it that one time on that one catfish rod back when we were building at Pops.
For the tip.
Yep.
Yeah, because he wanted the tip just to light up.
The last like 12 inches to light up and glow.
And it worked, but you got to charge it. It had to charge. But I think that's anything that glows in the dark. You have to make sure it charges, otherwise it's not going to glow. Just great examples, and you know, you can do it straight to the blank. You can put some rod bond or pro paste or, you know, any of that kind of like super thin layer and just wrap it on there. I'm messy when it comes to putting glue on anything, so I don't really like to put that underneath. When we were having a discussion about Paracord and everybody sharing it, and this has been 5-6 years ago now, I think, when we had that, when we were doing all the questions of the day. And somebody was like, my favorite way is to put the cork tape underneath of it. And we and you were like, light bulb, that makes more sense. Let's try that. And from then on, that is the only way that we'll do it.
If you use the rod bond or pro paste or anything like that, there's nothing wrong with it. But if you happen to have one spot that's too thick, it starts oozing through.
That'd be me, because I'm messy. I can't do nope. You know, and you don't have to seal it. You can definitely rinse it off and, you know, deal with it. And you'll probably have a tiny bit of change in color or anything like that, potentially. I've never really seen Paracord fade over time. But I also haven't set it outside for a year and seen what happened to it either. But then again, anything that we're going to put out in the sun all the time is going to have some change to it. I mean, metallic thread in general will fade just a little bit. So it's just part of having a rod. It's going to change every time. Tonight's product of the night is the Extreme Reamers. The reason why we decided to talk about this, no, it doesn't have anything to do with Paracord, but Wes was actually working on building, like getting some cork grips sanded down and reamed out and stuff prior to us going live. And the extra large, the 2XL, the 3XL reamers that they have, I just got the bigger sizes.
They work well.
I am so mad that it took me this long to order them, because I needed the 3XL for that dang gap. And might still need to use it because I got to move that grip down a little bit further. But prior to this, I have been wallering out grips.
Squeezing and
And that is so just, you get it down too thin on one side and get it uneven. And then you got to like do some ghetto-ness to get it fixed or remake it. Like, ugh, you always need the size you don't have.
The biggest thing I can tell anybody about the reamers, everything smaller than the large, go slow.
Yeah. Yes, go slow.
Go slow.
It starts
I've
to heat up. Stop.
So many of them. If you smell melted something, set it down. Walk away.
If you see smoke starting to come out, put it down. Don't
don't
even pull it out. Just leave it. Just leave it.
I did smoke the large one today, putting off a little bellow of smoke from it.
You gotta let it cool, because and it's not that they're cheap. It's just the friction
and fiberglass.
The fiberglass, like, it heats up real fast, and like I still have the remnants of the one that you basically just imploded on that one grip, because I kind of keep stuff like that around. Just don't do that. Here's what can happen,
Cork, it's
not too bad.
Plain, regular cork, it's fairly okay with. EVA, you gotta watch it.
EVA will heat up fast.
The burl cork and cactus cork and all that will melt. Even the large one, the XL, just go slow. Take your time, let it cool off, save your money.
Because take
it off a high, put it on low. Just take your time.
We are honestly impatient people. I know people always say I have the patience of a saint. I do not. So when it comes to like simple tasks like reaming stuff, I am trying to get in, get out, be done with it. When it comes to sanding inlays and stuff, I do have short patience until I realize it's not going to rip out, and then I am and just tear through it, because I could spend hours sanding down an inlay if I was going to baby it. I don't have time to do that, So once I realize everything's good to go, I'm done, because I can't afford half the time for me to bust up a reamer and wait 3 or 4 days for me to get another one in, because now I'm 3 or 4 days behind. Yeah, because everything gets shut down because I can't get the grip on there. So we're going to give a big shout out to our sponsors, Foundation Outdoor Group. Very excited to be going to ICAST next month. It is going to be a completely different setup, completely different thing. A rumor last year was that we're going to be building rods at the show. I don't know if that's going to happen or not. We shall see. Although I joked around with Kevin and told him to put me a headset in with a whole setup with a mic, because I'd be like, let's get ready to build rods. And so everybody be annoyed with me by the end of the day.
Everybody be avoiding the booth by then. Like, I know, she's too loud.
But I was joking around because, it would just be funny. And he laughed and he's like, that's an idea. And I was like, don't mic me up, because you're going to regret it. Like, seriously. But they've got big plans. We'll find out soon. And then I'm also appreciative that I'm going to be going back to Mudhole in October to teach again. So that's going to be fun. Save the date. It's the 11th through the 13th. So it's going to be awesome. I learned a lot while we were there last year. I had a ton of fun. They had great food. And it was just a blast. So I'm actually really thankful that, Foundation is supportive of us and allows us to kind of travel and teach and do what we love and share all the knowledge that we have, because knowledge shared is not wasted. Thanks for joining us tonight to watch this episode on Paracord. Basically, sky's the limit. You can gut it. You can keep the core in it. You can use cork tape for the underneath part. You can glue it straight on there. It all depends on what you want the end result to be. If you use some kind of glue to attach it, it's going to be a little bit stiffer than if you didn't. The cork tape is a great way to do it, or to wet it prior and really put some pressure on it, so as it dries, it will shrink down a little bit. It's going to work out really nicely for you. You can even cover it over with shrink tube. You can do patterns. We use Paracord Guild. We usually buy most of our Paracord from Paracord Planet and sometimes Hobby Lobby, but they're a little bit more expensive than going online. And you don't really necessarily have to seal it. That's kind of a personal thing. You can sink it into a cavity like Derek Bremer does and then coat over it to make a complete grip where you get this nice colored middle section to it. Or you can spray it with the waterproof spray or Minwax polyacrylic. Once again, just going to be a texture change, but it's going to hold up. I don't feel like it needs to have something like that, but that's really just personal opinion. So try it out, see if you like it. Easily replaceable, easily fixed if something happens to it. Turks knots are really fun to try too. But other than that, I hope you guys have a great night. Thanks for hanging out with us, and we will talk later.
Okay, bye.
Bye.